Hello! So it's not very often I get to take one of these out into the field to do real world examples, and this video is no different. I subcontracted this task out to my friend. He took this Bluetti AC200MAX out on bonfire night or camping. Was it bonfire night or camping? I forget which, but I gave it to him because he enjoys camping and he's got a Toyota Land Cruiser and it's all kitted out inside in the back for camping and adventuring. So he took this one out for testing, and I'll play exactly what he videoed and sent me, and then I'll come back at the end and give you my thoughts and his final thoughts. So go and watch him doing his thing, and I'll see you back in a minute.
Because David's such a nice man, he's letting me borrow this. Also, because he knows that I don't go to the gym anymore, so I need a workout. Whew. We're going to a fireworks night this evening, but in the interests of being fancy, I'm going to take this air fryer, which is a 1500 watt. I reckon I can run that out the back of the Land Cruiser. We'll get some pigs and blankets and some sausage rolls. Let's go. Before I go anywhere, I want to pump up the tyre on the back of this filthy Volkswagen. So I thought, rather than firing up the engine and polluting the planet, I will just plug in my handy Bluetti. Turn that on. Well, that doesn't sound right. .140 watts. Oh, alarm. Overcurrent. 12 volt, 10 amp. Hang on, what's that in wattage? Someone do that math for me. That is 12.5 amps. That's why that's gone to an alarm. Let me clear that. Oh. Right. Ah, there is there's a 30. Oh. I say but that doesn't help me. So 10 amp, I need 12.5 amps, but I can't plug my pump in because the 30 amp connector is whatever that is. So that's unfortunate. My basic pump on a small tyre exceeds the capacity of the Bluetti. That is unfortunate. That is disappointing. It's not even a particularly powerful compressor. It's just a little Costco compressor. It's not a big dog. Oh well, I'll have to turn the car on, do it the old-fashioned way. The other thing that is unfortunate is that I have wired in to the Land Cruiser a bunch of XT30 connectors, and so I've just got myself in a position so that I can run a transformer that I fitted to the car, and it all comes down to XT60 connectors. But for all of the things that this has, none of it is XT60. My only means of charging this bad boy is to use the giant power brick, which is the biggest power brick I have ever seen in my life. That's not ideal. So as well as my transformer, I need to have this giant other transformer, and I need to use an inverter because it's on a UK plug. Instead of going through my XT60 and the transformer, I have to now get an inverter to run this power pack so that I can plug the DC cable in order to charge it. That would be enough to make me not buy this, because I don't have XT60 connectors unless I get my soldering iron out and make one, or get an XT90 to XT60 adapter. That means that at least for the Land Cruiser I couldn't use this without a complete rewire. But for today I'm just going to get it charged up to 100%, and then I'm going to take it and do some fireworks night air fryering. That should be fun with the family. So we are at a fireworks display, bonfires coming up there, and we've got the touchscreen here. We're running an air fryer because we've got pre-bonfire snacks. Okay. The touchscreen is quite helpful. Couldn't use it with my gloves, so I had to get rid of the gloves, but it's going to fire through this. It's using 1400 watts right now, and the kettle will use about another 800, which would just max out what this can do. But this is the way to do it. got some lights on, and unfortunately the air fryer's taking 1600 watts and the kettle takes, well, it looks like another 1000. So if I go here, we're at 1462, turn on the kettle, shoots up 2254, alarm, 2.4 kilowatts, can't do it. So I have to choose between my kettle and my air fryer. First world problems, right? As delicious as all of that was, it has used 40% of the battery to run the air fryer for about 10 minutes and then boil the kettle once. So it is using a devastating amount of power. What else do I have to tell you? I kid you not, this has been here for a month and it's stayed on 60%, so it's holding charge really well. But if I turn on my AC output, I can get another essential test completed here. Plugs are in the correct lane. So let's say your wife wants to do some emergency bread making. Actually, I just fixed the plug for it. But if she wanted to do some emergency bread making using the Bluetti, what would the wattage be? Let me just turn that back on now that I'm ready for it. My wattage, AC load, 140, no watts, 140 watts worth of bread making. Let's really crank it up to the danger zone. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, so that's good. You can do 60 seconds of mixing for 1% of power. The more you know. Well, it's not perfect, but it is very useful. We were able to cook 72 pigs in blankets at the fireworks festival and boil a couple of kettles for cups of tea as well. Thank you very much for letting me borrow it. I'm not sure I'll be rushing out to buy one given that the connectors aren't quite right for me, but man, it's useful.
Well, that was nice. Another Scottish person, mostly talking a lot of stuff about things. Right, so, same as me, he was rather disappointed to find these weird ass connections that we don't have any connections for anything. These 2-pin things here, the other 2-pin thing, and same there. Again, he didn't like the fact that it's got a giant power brick for charging and not just a kettle lead like everybody else's. Like, why couldn't you just use a kettle lead that we could plug it in? Because it's not like this is any smaller than any of the other big units that we've got. It's not like it's reduced in size by the power brick. It's still the same size. The 10 amp output wasn't up to the task of running a compressor, but that's not surprising because a lot of those compressors are rather hungry in amps. They're like 15 amps, even though they're supposed to plug in the car cigarette adapters, which are supposed to be 10 amps because they're supposed to have a 10 amp fuse because it's only 120 watts. But that's that. So apart from, yeah, why, I still don't get why Bluetti didn't use the XT connectors. Because or Anderson, because you can, it's really easy to buy XT to Anderson adapters or XT60 to XT90 adapters. I don't even know what that plug is. Like, well, that doesn't help me. I want 30 amps to plug into things, but I want to be able to use plugs. Same as my friend's Land Cruiser. As I said, he's got it kitted out that it's got a big heavy duty, alternator output, so it can output a big high current, but there's no way to input it in this thing unless you use the weird solar charger controller that does up to 15 amp inputs. I want to give it a lot more than 15 amp input. I want to thunder current into this thing. I want it to be like a current sponge, because I mean, these alternators may be good for like 80 amps and it could be charging at that kind of rate, but you can't plug it in anywhere. So that, as he said, if he was spending the money, he would buy one with all the XT connectors that already suit what he's got, and it wouldn't be the proprietary controller. The touchscreen's nice, and seeing the values and the discharging, etc., is nice, but not essential. And yeah, so other than that, it's a good unit. It just needs, they all need more capacity. I know this is, but that's why it's got connections for external batteries. But Yeah, they're really expensive. Everything's really expensive. Everything, the world's, it's all gone crazy. Everything's really, really expensive. But if you have any comments, questions, thoughts, suggestions, please leave them down below. I will read them. I'll try my very best to answer them. And as always, thanks for watching.